And we're back with another episode of Beyond the Track. Thank you all for tuning in. This one, it's going to be good. Got the champ on the line. But right now, you're not the champ. You are post-retirement life, living life. Ryan Villopoto, what? First off, thanks for coming on. Second off, what are you doing right now? What's life like for you right now?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on. It's believe it or not, it's pretty busy with the boys. Just chaos and bouncing from flag football to soccer. This summer they did swimming. So just trying to keep them busy and the I guess the odd occasion that we go ride, which isn't a ton, only because I only bring them riding when they ask to go. I don't at this point don't push them to go riding because to be honest, it's more of a pain in the ass. You get loaded up, go ride, come home, clean all the stuff. And if they're not, really asking to go or really don't want to go, then I try not to push it on them.
So you're not mini moto dad like Chad Reed, because I don't know if you've seen the Instagram, bro. CR22 is all in right now. He's got three of them. He's got three of them, and they're all racing every class.
I know. Got the YouTube channel going. Yes, I would be like that if they were like, Dad, let's go. I want to race. And, then yeah, there's kind of no way around that, when you've come from, starting at their age and,
yep.
The amateurs and making it all the way to the top, you kind of, how it goes. So no matter what, you're going to fall into that trap. I just haven't fallen into it yet because they're, like I said, they're not really asking to go all the time yet.
Keyword yet, because Chad's kids weren't into it either right at the beginning, and then all of a sudden snap the finger, dude. He's got the rig out at the track. He's hitting amateur nationals. He's probably protesting. He's probably doing the kids gate past the gate, patting it down.
Yeah,
you ready for that? Are you ready for that coming in a couple of years?
You got to get every advantage they can get. It's amateur racing.
Hey, so you race with Chad. How much do you think he's tinkering with the bikes? Clickers.
Oh, I've already kind of seen some of it. I've already seen like he's getting the air forks dialed in on the 85, and he's making changes and I could see myself. I mean, maybe not like that, but you can watch something and you're like, okay, well that's not right, so,
right.
And they don't know anything, so you have to set it up for them. So
exactly.
Yeah.
How about your boys then? How are they liking everything else? I mean, again, you're Ryan Villopoto, dude. You're like a legend in this sport. And then you got your kids trying all the different sports out. Like, how's it going? And then how are you as a parent of kids doing those types of sports? Are you like intense on them, or is it like you boys go do this thing?
Well, I think, it's been fun to watch. And this is the only thing do I want my kids to be, do I wish my kids or want them to be, the upper echelon in the sport, in whatever they do? Yeah, sure. I just, maybe it's just in my genes now, or being the best at Supercross motocross at one time. I have this, thought process. It's different than other parents. And not all of them, but for sure, the only thing I can ask is, and this is what I tell both of them. I said, I don't care if you're any good at it, but you better give me 100%. Like, if I can see you out there screwing around, rolling on the ground, or, not giving me 100%, not trying, that's what, like, I can't get mad at them if they're just no good, like
yeah, that'd be messed up, man.
Or whatever, you see some of these parents, they're all up in their kids' grill, or they're all upset at them because they're no good. But I'm looking at it as like, he has no talent, so that's my thing, is that talent's one thing. You can't teach talent, but you can teach hard work. So that's what really irritates me when we're, flag football or soccer or whatever it is, when I don't see them.
I love it.
100%.
I love it. Hey, we're going to get into a whole bunch of things, but I wanted to start with the family stuff because, dude, you're a dad. You got these boys growing up. And again, you're Ryan Villopoto. So you come from the Supercross background. And I love it. I think it's hilarious when these kids start growing up, like Chad's kids, yours, Dunge's kids are going to grow up. I mean, Brayton's kids are growing up. And it's a cool chapter to see what everybody does with it. And I guess, I'll one more question on the amateur dad type of thing. If the kids get the if they get the interest heavy, could you be like a Brian Deegan or a Talon Bowen? Could you go all in again and go through all of it again? But on the dad side, could you even do it?
I think that if one of them want to do it or both of them want to do it, I can't sit here and say that I wouldn't go all in. No, I think I was given the opportunity, and it's like, if they want to go and do it and that's what they want to do, like, you know, there's a part of me that wants them to do it, but then there's also a part of me that's like, okay, well, and more the part of, not the failure part, more of the part of, you know, we all know that motorcycles, you know, they are kind of dangerous, but, you know, we all grew up doing it, and they ride now. So, but, you know, you're on it 4 days a week, you know, hours on hours on hours. So, you know, stuff happens, you know, so there's the other part of that it's like, okay, well, maybe we'll do something else. But, you know, there is a part of me that would like to see them, you know, be good.
So Ryan's waiting just in case. I love it. Hey, so man, I got a lot to talk to you about. Again, I want to talk about right now. It's November. You know, in a past chapter in your life, it's right now is grind time, right? It's boot camps, it's testing, it's getting ready to go to a war for 4 months. But now your life's different. I know you're busy doing a lot of different things, but it's a different type of busy. How are you liking this chapter now that you're settled in and you got the Coors Lights popping a lot? I mean, what's life like for you right now? Busy, but enjoyable?
Yeah, for sure. It is. It's definitely busy. It's like, I think this is just me. It's hard. And maybe a lot of people, it's hard to find that balance. You know, it's like you're all in over here or you're all in over there. So for me, it's kind of hard to find that balance, you know, of like, and right now it's just for me, meaning it's just the kids. It's full involved with that, you know, and trying to, you know, we're kind of in a weird time right now. They're 5, they're this next year, they'll be going into kindergarten, you know, so I'm just we're trying to navigate a bunch of, call it weird stuff right now in the world. So, for me, it's mainly busy with them. We also have our first, spec house going actually down here in Orange County. So, you know, there's a lot of things going on, but ultimately just trying to be a good dad and be a good husband. You know,
priority one, right?
Those are the hardest things.
They are, and if you do those right, everything else. But you got to keep
even if the wheels fall off the rest of it, just got to be good at those two things.
I agree. That's long term the priority. You know, as a racer, again, in that chapter of racing, I mean, you're so focused on winning, right? It's about you're paid to win, you train to win, everything's about winning. But now, as a brand ambassador for a lot of different, I mean, you're spread out, you're Yamaha and Monster, and I mean, there's so many things that you're involved with. What's it like now being on that side of branding? Before you branded yourself by winning. Now you brand yourself by your relationships and your communications and being places and meeting people. Are you settled in on that? Because I have to imagine that'd be a weird transition at first, but I feel like now you got to be cruising through that stuff.
You know, I think after I was able to retire, and I kind of went away for about 2 years. Like, I didn't do a lot of stuff, you know, just a few random stuff here and there. But to be honest, I did that as 2 years, and then the Yamaha thing kind of sparked up, and it got me back involved on seeing, you know, all these all my, call it, I mean, family, old family, or all these friends, you know, from all the Cowie guys at Factory Cowie, from all the guys at Pro Circuit, and then just all the other teams that, I mean, we raced each other for, you know, 10 years professionally, and they all knew me before I was pro. So it was nice to get back involved, you know. So that right now is a fun part of kind of, call it my job now, is with Yamaha, is I'm able to go and ride, you know, off-road motorcycle from the 125 all the way up to the 450, or go to a side-by-side event, you know, the Tanneray 700. Just, there's so many facets of kind of this marketing place or tool that I am. It's pretty cool to be in that position. I'm not stuck to just one thing. I don't have to do just dirt bikes. It could be watercraft. It could be side-by-side. So pretty rad spot.
Yeah, and I remember when this whole thing happened with Yamaha, the launch of this was at Anaheim, and I remember Race Day Live being a little caught off guard that this was all happening. Like, wow, Ryan's back with Yamaha. And I remember you telling me on Race Day Live, it's like you want to do other things. It's not just I want to go ride a 450. You wanted to go and do a bunch of things that Yamaha had to offer. And I mean, how's that been? Has it been pretty fulfilling to branch out of the life that you've known your whole life and go into all these new avenues kind of in the same vein?
Yeah, it's been really fun. Obviously, as everybody knows, the last 2 years have been a lot of those events and things have been put on halt. But it seems like everybody's getting back to somewhat normal. So these events and stuff will start happening more, which is cool. It's really good being in my position, or any, like, probably my position, Dungy's position. Us that are retired, it's not always good to be at home all the time, on top of your wife, on top of your kids, and vice versa. So when we do get a chance to just kind of get out, go do something for our mind, get out and go riding or go side by side, whatever it is, just go meet people or do those types of things. It's good to get out and leave your house for 3 days and come back, so that's the other thing. Like, I'm hoping to get back into some more of those, dealer shows or bike launches. We actually have the new YZ125 tomorrow out at Glen Helen. So I'll be out doing that. So it's just good to stay busy. I don't want to be doing that every single day, but the once, twice a month that it is, it's great.
It's good to have that freedom, right? I mean, I for me, I'm home. Well, I'm away pretty much January through May traveling. It's like, that's part of the grind, right? We know how that every weekend thing goes. And then the rest of the year I'm home, and it's like, I feel lucky sometimes because I get to be two people. I get to be a full-time at home dad with the family. And then I get to be the traveling person who gets a little bit of that freedom too. And I don't know about you, but my wife likes me better when I'm gone. Like, I feel like we get along so much better when I'm traveling, because she like wants to see me. And when I'm home for like a month, she's like, book something, like, get out. So is that why you're like, dude, start getting traveling going again?
Part of that's true. I think and vice versa, if she was gone all the time or my wife was gone all the time, you kind of get into your routine. So then when you're gone all the time, part of it is I show back up and I'm like, she's like, well, what are you doing that for? I'm like, well, because I did this, she says, well, we've been doing that. You've been gone for, a week, and we're in this groove now. So you're coming in, and sometimes it's a little hard for me to get back in the groove.
To get back into the home life and the routine, and you're probably being reminded a lot of all the things that you're doing to disrupt the home life, right?
Exactly.
Don't put that there. Don't leave that there.
Yes,
and you're like, hey, when I'm in a hotel room, I leave my stuff everywhere, and now there's rules.
Exactly. Rules.
Hey, so how fast are you right now? If you get on a 450, where's the speed at? I mean, we'll get into the other parts of the riding, but pure speed, dude. Do you still got it?
Pure speed. I mean, I guess call it to the average person, I'm still pretty fast, but to the guys that are, in the position that I was in, no, I'm not fast anymore. Up in my brain, I still think I'm great, but actually I think if I were to go riding or go to an event, like, so I've heard other people, and Bradshaw, for example, he's like, man, I have a hard time not, like, just something and I'm like, I'm opposite. Like, I'm cool with just chilling, riding, like, in my pace, like I'll push in inside of my limits that I have, where that pace is today. But maybe for me, it's just maybe what I've accomplished, or maybe I just don't have that fire anymore. I don't know, but I'm okay with getting beat or not being the fastest. And I think that's kind of one of those, when I did the 125 stuff for outdoors, like I got beat. I think I raced four times. I got 2 out of the 4 times, I think. Aiden Tejero, dude. He's a NorCal guy. He beat me the first time, and then also that Fariz beat me at Paula. So, but I had a hell of a time doing it. It was a lot of fun. I wasn't scared to get beat. I think what really that whole thing is I was enjoying being around. And I would still do it if they still had it today, but I really enjoyed being at the races again, racing 4 laps, no pressure. Mm-hmm. And for my fans side of it, they were super stoked to see me riding, being back on the track in that race, call it mentality, obviously going slower, but just being out on the track. I think they really enjoyed it.
I don't want to take anything away from Tahero because he's a local guy. I love him and his family, but his bike may have been like race ready. Like he was ready for you, dude. And he had some power. He was light.
Let's not take in, bikes aside, I probably had at least 40 pounds on him too.
At least.
But regardless, but regardless, that was just fun. Like I just enjoyed doing that, you know. Yeah. I mean, if they had him going today, you know, going to the Hangtown in Paula, like it was fun, you know.
Yeah, that's cool. Do you ever have any episodes now where you're riding some intermediate kid, 15, you ever heard of, just comes up behind you and you're like, who is that? And I have to imagine for them, it's like, oh my God, I'm going to pass Ryan Villopoto at Paris. But you're like, dude, kids. I mean, I have to imagine they got to be coming after you at the local track when they get a shot.
You know, because of that's one thing, as you know, like in California, they see all these guys all the time, you know. So I think it's more like, oh, who's this retired guy, you know, like because they see all the current pros when it comes outdoors from the transition from Supercross to motocross. You know, they see all these guys, you know, so they're like, oh, this guy's washed up, retired, you know. So I don't think that they try to do that. For me, I just try to stay out of the roost because it hurts. I'm not to get hit more.
So you're not getting in a battle where you're going to end up on a drag up a hill, getting blasted at Glen Helen.
No. I just pull off. I pull off and find a clear track.
So never put a tear off on, just in case. You don't even want to have to pull a tear. I ain't getting rude.
No tear offs. I love it. That's one of those things. Like that's a little too much work at this point in stage.
Yeah. And it's too serious. If you got a tear off going on, you're way too serious. But still, always obviously trying to look good and be presentable. Explain to me the canvas thing. I mean, I know a little bit about it and I know the relationship there, but I think that's rad. When I heard that was going down, thought it was awesome. I mean, how's it going so far?
It's good, man. It's good working with Michael. You know, I as an office person, that's not me obviously, but just trying to help where I can and, you know, with riders and amateur riders and things like that, you know, facilitating those types of deals. But yeah, it's going good. You know, it came about like my answer deal was up. You know, I think that looking back, you know, the thought process was okay, I could go and try to get, you know, scrape up a little bit of money here or there. But my thought process was Michael already had this thing. Let's try to build this thing into something bigger, build the brand side of it, because he's got the custom side, you know, like built up. So if anybody's looking for, you know, backyard designs or, you know, like your landscaping business and they want gear, like that side of it's covered, right? So but so like now we're just working to build up build up the brand side and get a place in the market share.
I would imagine riding for Thor for those years, or Ants, or the different people that you rode for, it's the relationship's very simple, right? They're going to pay you, you're going to go race, you're going to try to win and promote. This is different because it's like brand building, and you're on the building side of it, where it's not just go win the race, we'll take care of it. Now you're involved in a different way. Has that been cool for you to be on the other side of the fence a little bit?
Yes, it has been cool. And I look forward to it, and hopefully, you know, it's got traction, you know, it's for me, obviously I've never been in that position but by no means am I building the brand. I think I'm a tool to help build it. You know, so that's the hard part. It's not easy. It's easy to get paid by somebody and wear their gear, right? It's a lot harder to build a brand, like everybody you know knows that's built a brand. It's not easy to do that. So, but we're pushing for it. We're pushing pretty hard, and it's coming together, and we're constantly making our pant and jersey little tweaks here and there and making them better. You know, because it's US made right here, right behind the stadium, basically. So it's like 15 minutes from the stadium. So it's all made right here, and which is a really cool feature, you know.
The customizable part, I think, is the coolest thing too, because I know people that run Canvas up here. A lot of people run the Canvas brand. They actually like just the brand itself, because I mean, if you look at the things they do, it's incredibly cool looking. But it's that customizable thing too, because I have people up here that, like you said, for like their business, a tax write-off. Why buy some gear with another logo on it when I could buy some and put my logo on it to tax write up, and now I'm a brand at the local Over the Hill Gang race? Or, you know, even have kids. I got some kids up by me with these two twins. They run Canvas. They love it. So I think it's rad, and
it is really cool. It's cool to see that and branching out and have the option to wear the brand side of it. And then if you do want to do your own, custom stuff for if you have a, like an old timers group that everybody wants to wear the same jersey or pant, whatever, we have the capability of designing and making custom anything you want on your gear. So it's that side of it's really cool.
Yeah, it's rad and continuing to develop. I know Michael very well. I know you guys are doing a cool thing over there. So that's awesome. I do want to focus on Supercross a little bit. As I mentioned, right now, you're different life than you were back in the last chapter at this time. Just take me back in time to the month of November and some of the emotions that you're feeling before the season. Obviously working really hard, but it's the big buildup, right? I mean, what were those days like for you at different times in your career, and just that final prep before you go to battle for about 9 months?
Yeah, currently right now where we kind of sit is these guys have been riding for, some of them riding for probably a month and a half now. So that first month of, after motocross is done, you get a little bit of a break. You just kind of get reintroduced to Supercross, and that's probably the best time for us or the riders right at that time, that first 3 weeks, because you're just kind of getting up to speed. There's nothing too serious. You're not putting in the long 20s or the super long days just yet. And then it fast forward to currently where we sit now, it's everybody's, staying at the track till 4:00, testing days in, days out, tire testing, suspension testing, making sure they're getting their laps in. I see, what I see now is looking back is we were always 20 laps. Now these guys are timed. And as everybody knows, like if the lap counter, they're up to 28 laps, which, as you know, as an ex-racer, 20 laps to 28, that's a huge difference.
Big time.
In time, and some of these guys are, if your track's low 50s, high 48s, 49s, you're up into the 30 laps, so that's one of the big changes. But I think right now is you're trying to not leave, any stone unturned on the motorcycle side. And I can guarantee you that it happened to me multiple times. They think they've covered every base and they go to Anaheim 1. There's only going to be one winner, and everybody else Monday morning is a fire drill, and they're looking for, geez, what happened? I struggled with the bike here. The bike did this. It's soft. It's stiff. I couldn't ride it. And then, Tuesday they're back at the test track, running through a whole bunch more settings. And, Wednesday, day off, Thursday they ride, Friday they fly again. So, that's the crunch time. Right now it's getting into crunch time.
Yeah, I can imagine there's pressure mounting too in different ways. So like Star Yamaha, obviously the Tomac thing's different, but for Ferrandis, for their 250 guys, you got a winning package. I mean, I see the videos, they're grinding out their motos. Then you've got Cooper Webb, Aaron Plessinger, the Lawrence brothers, they got new bikes. So they're like having to do this like train thing, but test and try out these stupid parts. And I mean, I have to imagine that for them, it's difficult because they're staring at Anaheim 1 and they're like, man, I'd love to be just working. But I mean, how gnarly is it for those guys to be having to develop a new motorcycle while trying to match the prep that maybe a Roxon's doing or the Star Yamaha guys in the 250 class are doing? I mean, I have to imagine that's brutal.
Yeah, for sure. I think, like you said, you got Star Racing that is a proven, bike team, the package. Same with, at this point, Mitch's bike is the same. Yep. But then you have these other guys, from the 450s and the 250s. Some of these guys are on new motorcycles, and that is a big change. Like the first, month of your testing is just kind of trying to get a new baseline and figuring out where that baseline is. And I think a lot of that, some of it happens quicker than other times, because if it's a whole redesign, then, you got to start from scratch, new ratios of linkages, and the frame's completely different and those types. That's where, that's where I think it's a little more time consuming. Looking back on my career, I never had one of those total redesigned motorcycles. They were, yes, they changed, and they changed for the better, but it wasn't, like it was a whole redesign. So I had never been put in that position, to say like, okay, we're going racing this season, but we have no baseline on this new motorcycle. So, you know, I was lucky not to have that. So yeah, these guys they're pushing long hours right now, making sure those new motorcycles are going to be as good or better. And the main goal is to make them better than what they had previously.
Which is tough, right? Because you had years on an old platform that you got there, chipped away at a couple off seasons, and now you have to rush with part issues. I imagine there's a lot of pressure in some of the pits right now trying to figure that out. When it does come to you, did you like the testing side? I know some riders love to test, and some are just like, let me ride. Where were you on that?
I didn't mind it. I kind of liked it. I like it more now. What was it like when I was testing with Yamaha and Justin? That was a pretty fun. Or that was a really fun time where I was able to test. I think I did it for about 6 weeks, rode about 2 days a week. So it wasn't a ton of riding, but over 6 weeks, you know, I'm there as a tool and as the rider to, I don't have to go fast. I don't have to make the right decision thinking like, okay, I'm the rider. I have to make this right decision because I'm going to Anaheim or I'm going to race this machine. You know, so I think as a test rider, I was way more, my mind was way clearer. I was distinctive lines in the sand where I could, okay, well, this isn't good. You know, this is good. I think this is better. Now let's have him try it. This is why it's better. I think it made my testing was easier, was funner, was better because I was just very had a clear mind when I was doing it.
Yeah. Like you weren't staring at a deadline, like A1 is coming. I can't go the wrong direction because then we have to come back. So for you, it's probably freedom to just, let's try what sucks and see what it feels like because there's no like rush.
And as a rider, you second guess too, you know, like, you know, some are worse than others, but every rider second guess like, okay, am I making the right decision? Is this really better? I feel like it's better today on our test track that we have thousands of laps on. But is it going to be better on the weekend? So, and I really truly believe that is one facet of our industry that is way behind times. I think every team needs to have not a durability test rider, but an actual test rider to help these guys. You know, and some guys are good testers, some guys aren't. It's really nice to, as a rider, I can remember we had a Travis at Kawasaki. He was R&D test rider and new development test rider. And a few times when we were struggling really bad, it was nice to be able to bounce idea, you know, like talk to him. And he would ride my motorcycle. And when I'm spinning out of control, he'd be like, well, here, this is what I feel this. Is this kind of what you're feeling? And then you're like, yeah, I do feel that. And I might've been telling the suspension guy or the engineer, like, it's doing this, but the engineer suspension, I couldn't understand what I was saying. And then Travis turned around and spun it for 360. And then he told the suspension guy engineer, you know, this is what I feel, this is what it's doing. And then he totally understood it. Right. So, I think we need to have that in our industry for sure. Every team.
You see that with Ryan Morris. He's been involved. Ivan Tedesco, Trey Kennard. So you believe, I mean, that's a benefit, right? To have just someone that has that experience, but doesn't have the pressure of having to be the racer. I mean, I have to imagine that's fun to be in that position where you get to be influential, but it's not all on you to make the final call of what you like.
It's not all on you. And I think that yeah, it's as from the rider standpoint, it's good though. It eases your mind on like, if you guys come to, you know, an agreement, and even if you don't agree, and you just say, hey, I'm the, you know, like that he's the rider. So he ultimately has the end decision, the end goal, you know, he makes the decision on what he wants, but at least, you know, like, okay, I like this. I don't like this. We're both on the same page. And that way, nobody's second guessing it.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. I mean, that's why there's a team, right? That's why you don't do it alone. You do it with a team, and it's about who you have around you. Ryan, over the last few years, I've had a chance to talk to you. I've had a chance to interview Ryan Dungey multiple times, and you guys seem to have a lot of respect for each other. And if you look at the history books, it's an 8-year run between the two of you. What was it like racing him again. You guys have always been very respectful. You raced respectful, and you guys just had this rad era. The Ryans, man, you guys crushed it. But I have to imagine that he was fun to race, but also frustrating because he's got some qualities about him that are just like, God, the guy's always there. I mean, what was it like during that run to have to deal with someone that was just going to always be there?
That I think he was like, everybody has their strengths and their weaknesses, but I think for him, he was one of the tougher competitors that I had, because no matter what, he was going to be there, like you said. So, and if I had just a bit of an off day, you know, and he was at a normal day or even better than a little normal, than his normal, then it was even harder, right, to beat him. But no matter what, he was the guy that was just, you turned around and he was always there. If I'm winning, I put in, you know, say, for example, Supercross, I get the whole shot, or if I got the whole shot, I put in, you know, 5 really good sprint fast laps, get a gap, and then you turn around and you look and it's done, and it's like,
he's sitting there
now. Yeah, now I have to ride 20 perfect laps and 20 laps that are basically as fast as I just went the first 5, because you know that until the checkered flag comes out, he's not going to slow down or give up, you know. So where I think, not that Chad or Ricky or, you know, anybody else just gives up, because we don't, but, you know, there is a point in time where it's like, okay, well, not that the race is over, because anything can happen, but you just a little bit back off, and then it makes your race, you know, a little bit easier if you're in that position of winning.
Right. That makes sense, because he's always there.
He won't give you an inch until the checkered flag's, you know, out.
Yeah. And you and him again had that big chapter where you guys just ran those titles, but you guys were coming on the back end of Stu and Chad, who are still super competitive. I know this is going to be a weird question. Maybe you've already been asked it, but what was it like right out of the gate when you're lining up in the 450s with Chad and with James? I had to imagine that you respected them and admired them. They were already legends. And now your job was to go and knock them off, but at the same time, you respect them. Like, what was that year 1, year 2 like with those two guys?
I mean, I don't know. I think for me, that was the easiest part of my career in the 450 class, because you aren't expected to win yet. You're hired to win, but they don't know if you can win yet. You're right there speed wise, but you don't have the, you know, you don't have the seasons under your belt. You don't have that many gate drops just yet. So the odds for mistakes are a lot higher. So looking back on when I won, Seattle was the first win. Okay, so I won Seattle. That was kind of like weight off shoulders for sure, because it's like, okay, I did it. Finally, I've won a race. And then Vegas was kind of a turning point, I think, because, okay, Seattle. And then to back it up, I think, what was it, 2 weeks later, 2 weeks later or whatever it was. And that was you know, Chad and James, I know they were racing for a championship, but nobody had fallen. You know, it was kind of a clear win. That, I think, after that was when it was like, now it's serious. Now I can win. Everybody knows it. And now you are really expected. So those first, you know, what was it, a season and a half or 2 seasons were probably the easier seasons, or the easiest season in the 450 class, because there was so many unknowns.
Expectations were probably different, right? It was like, they're the guys. I'm going to come in here and get to them eventually, but there's no expectation. Then you go and beat them a couple of times. Now it's like, okay, now you have to beat them all the time. Then it changed, right? It changed.
Exactly. That's when it all got real.
Yeah, I could imagine. And again, you guys had some of the gnarliest races. Again, I remember the first win in Seattle, and to me, that one just made sense. You know, Pacific Northwest. I bet you that place was louder than a Seahawks game. I mean, I bet it was nutty. But then you go to Vegas, and again, this is on some super hard pack in Vegas. And I mean, that was a whooping. Like, I mean, I know this is going way back in time, but when you won that one, was it like, okay, now it's for real?
Yeah, like I said, even for me as a rider, expectations were a lot lower. I didn't have any real expectations that I mean, I did, but I didn't, right? There were so many unknowns. Like I said, like but yeah, it got real after that. It got real and all exciting, everything all in one, like a lot of emotions. But then it's like, okay, well, like you said, now it's like racing, the season's over, it's off season, and now you've shown everybody that you can win. It's good and bad.
Yeah, it's good because you believe, it's bad because now you got to do it all the time.
Yeah, I mean, in a position of where we are, and today, for some reason, we don't see it, and I don't really have the answers why, but like, I think that, and some will say that we have a deeper field, which I disagree with a deeper field. I just think, like, for instance, like myself and Dungy and Chad and James, when they were in their prime and we were in our prime, like really a bad race for us was third, fourth, like mm-hmm. You'll see a jump today they win one weekend and then they're ninth the next.
Yeah.
That is what I see, the inconsistency in our sport, where there wasn't an option to be inconsistent. Yeah. And because Dunge was going to win if I didn't win, period.
Right.
And you didn't have the option to finish ninth, like there wasn't.
It'd take you a quarter of a season to make up the difference in one bad night. And Ricky's talked about that. And he says, for him, it was Chad and James. Like, no matter where you end up on the start, whatever, you better get to the top three because they're going to win or get second. And you can't have bad nights. And I agree with you. I have to imagine that was a lot more pressuring because you can't let one slip through the cracks and rebound. It's like, dude, you can't have a bad one. And that's a different type of pressure. You know what I mean?
It is a different type of pressure. And for some reason today, and like I said, I don't have the answer of why it is the way it is, but you see so much more inconsistency with the riders today, which as a rider, if I was racing this in today's world, I do think it's probably better mentally for the riders because 17 weekends is and to show up and basically try to win every single time. Not that these guys don't, but you can't fault it. Like I said, you can't be off the podium because if I'm off the podium, Dunge is going to win it. Chad's going to win it. And, and when you're only making 3-point increments on these guys, because Dunge is second every time, I won. Okay. Now we swapped. Now Dunge is back up, so that's really hard to get a gap. It takes over half the season to get a nice cushion, and where today you'll see these guys have a 20-point lead after, 5 rounds.
And then it could be gone 3 weeks later.
Exactly. But that's just because of the inconsistency in the riders today.
Yeah. I do want to talk about the riders because, we're getting ready to do a season. So I got a couple questions, but I want to talk about the Hall of Fame. Every sport, all the big sports have their Hall of Fame. It's something that you earn over the course of your career. Congratulations. First off, and I know this is going to be a weird question, but take me back to when you were a kid, little 615, Jeff Northrup protege. You probably know that, right?
Yes, I know.
You stole NorCal's number from him, but the old 615's coming up, dude, and he's a Hall of Famer now. I have to imagine you envisioned yourself being successful, but now that you can look back, what's it feel like to be in the Hall of Fame and knowing that at one point, dude, you're just a kid racing Washougal, and now you're Hall of Famer?
It's pretty cool. I think looking back on it, I wasn't super educated on, the Hall of Fame, and I knew that we had it. I think that's one area where we should do better on educating our, the athletes. Cause as a racer, I knew that I knew what it was. I knew that we had it, but really it's a pretty cool thing. Like I was able to be inducted and actually go and see the museum and see it, then it all makes sense, and it's actually a really cool thing. So, being inducted, like as a kid, I didn't know anything about it as a kid. And then, once, I turned pro and things like that, was it on my list of things that I had to accomplish or wanted to? I wouldn't say that it's not that I didn't want to, but, the older you get, the more respect you have for, certain things and different things too. So now, okay, I'm 33. I've been retired for, 6 years or so. If you would ask me this when I was 25 and still racing, I'd say, but now being retired, older, and the older I get, I think the cooler it becomes to be inducted into that.
You can look back a little bit and almost have a little bit more perspective on what you accomplished. I mean, you know what you did, but when you get there and you go, wow, like I really did have an impact.
Yeah, to have more perspective on what I did, to see how hard it is for the current guys to just win one race, and then for a few of these guys to win one championship, or and then the guys like myself and Ricky and Dunge that have won multiples in a row. It just, looking back at it, just the older you get, the cooler it is.
Yeah, and it's funny, you transitioned perfect into my question. To win a Supercross race is incredible. To win a championship, incredible. To win multiples takes a lot of commitment, and you did it 4 years in a row. Was the pressure just tougher every year? Because once you get there, Ryan, it's like you can't give it up no more. You don't want to. It's like it's yours now. You don't want to give it up. So did the pressure mount each and every year to keep it going? Because, dude, you're in your prime. You ain't going to give this thing up, but it's racing, so it's possible. I mean, what was that pressure like each year? It
was every year. That's like winning your first race. Okay, I knocked that. I checked that box, and then you win your first championship. I think leading into that first championship was the easiest championship. I had never won one. Yes, was I expected to win one when I was hired? Yes, but you still have never won one, right? So then you win the first one, and then from that point on, it's the hill gets even steeper, because it's everybody's trying to knock you off the top of that mountain, and not to mention just the pressure you bring on yourself, the pressure the teams put on you, and I'm not saying they hound over the top of you pressure, but they hire you to win.
You're paid to win. You're not paid to get second. You're paid to win.
Exactly. You're paid to win. So yeah, each and every championship I think got harder. Yes, it got harder.
Yeah.
And maybe it was mentally and pressure that I put on myself that made it harder, because like I said, the teams they're not standing over you under with a magnifying glass. My whole career at Kawasaki was great, and it was always the same start to finish. Like, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't like they were different or anything like that. I think it just, as a whole, it gets more complex.
Makes sense. Like the pressure from them didn't grow every year that you won. It was always the same. We're here to win. It was probably that internal pressure because you wanted to get another one and want to get another one. And you didn't want to lose it, because then you lose the number one. You got to start over. You got to take it back. Yeah, so I'm guessing it was you more than them, for sure.
Yeah, 100%. And maybe it's that and I can't really sit here and say that I was scared of failing or scared of losing, but in a way that's what you could call it. That's what it is. But yeah, it is a weird spot to be in, to go out and win one and then you lose the year right away, the next year. I think like you said, then the slate is clear.
Yeah, start all over. Get another roll going.
Yeah, exactly.
When you look at the field we got now, and you're so on a different side of this thing because you're not competing with these guys, you get to see them from a different angle. What do you think about the field we got right now? It's to me, it feels like every guy is so Webb, Roxon, and Tomac are nothing like all three of them. They're like three different people. They all have their strengths and weaknesses, like you said. What's it like for you now watching them try to win championships with their strengths and weaknesses and then dealing with each other?
I mean, as a fan and as a spectator, it is on one hand interesting to turn the races on Saturday, and really not knowing every weekend changes. Like I know Coop won 8 races last year, I think, right? That's a lot of races to win. Like that's but still you don't know. You're turning the TV on not knowing who's going to win. So and I think that in a way is really good. Like myself or Dunge, like I'm sure these fans were like, can we just see a new winner, or can we see a new top 3? it was me, Dunge and James, or Dunge, me and James, or James, Dunge, me. Like it was always those group, and Chad was in there also. Like it was always us four. But now it's like I said, I turn it on Saturday and it's like, you don't know who's going to win. You don't know who's going to show up. You don't know who's going to crash. There's so many variables and unknowns in our racing today. So
yeah,
I think from a fan standpoint, it's good in a way.
You feel like, because again, when you were racing, you had to really understand James. I mean, you got to know him as well as you know yourself. Got to know Dunge. If you're Cooper and you look at Kenny and he's just this sprinter, he gets out front. You got Eli, who's this like just dig deep late race charger. If you're those guys, you're looking at Webb and you're like, dude, the guy is 12th in time. Like he's slow tonight. And then he went. I mean, you think it's hard for these guys even to figure each other out, because they're not as every week like you guys all were? It's like, how do you figure out your competition when they can't even figure themselves out sometimes?
Exactly. Yeah. I think, looking back, as if just one of them can figure out the consistency, and I don't know, like I said, I don't have the answers. I don't know why it is the way it is, but it is. We watch it every weekend, and that's the way it is. If just one can figure that out, I think that, and the rest don't, it'll be one of their easiest seasons to win. If one of these guys can just, stay inside the top 5 for 17 rounds, and I'm saying the worst finish, and that's your worst would be 2 or 3 out of 17. You would, be fifth. The rest would be first through third, but a lot of firsts and a few seconds. Your points gap would be huge, because one guy wins today and then next weekend he's 9th. That's a huge point swing. Even if you don't win. So,
right. So it's stacking those points. We always talk about it. You can't have those bad nights.
I think it would be easier if you were the guy that did figured out that consistency and never, and didn't have, we're all going to have mistakes. I didn't qualify at Jacksonville one year. Anaheim 1, I came out like with a 16 and had to dig out of that hole. So I'm not saying it's nearly impossible to be mistake free.
It's not impossible. You just don't want those, man. Like, just avoid at all costs.
Exactly. Your worst race is how you win.
Hey, so you're obviously you're a Yamaha guy again, which means you are obviously watching the Star Racing Yamaha program. Explain to me what Bobby's doing over there, man. He's got 100 riders. He's got 450 guys, 250 guys. He's got Deegan. Is Bob? He's playing for keeps, man. He's not being very friendly. He's taking all the guys. He's stacking, and dude, they're killing it every year, man. I mean, what do you think? Just you watching that program, what do you think?
I mean, so for me, watching that program reminds me of a lot of when I was at Pro Circuit. Everybody riding together, training together, and they have some of the fastest guys. So, if you're not so fast guys, or the guys that you hired to be like the 5th place guy are, they know that the fastest guy is right here, and they know exactly where they need to be, and know how far and how much better they need to get during the off season. So I think that's how, by having the fastest guy, by having them all ride together, by having them, even if they don't like it, they know where the bar is set, not to mention the team is solid right now. The motorcycle is solid right now. So they have, call it the perfect package right now as a whole.
Yeah. It's competitive landscape, man. And this is like Mitch's team on blue, pretty much. They are just relentless. And again, you're team blue, so you're probably going, yeah, I've seen this when I was green, and now I'm on blue, and they're the same thing. We just wrapping them up.
It really does remind me of when the 3 years that I was at Pro Circuit, because and even prior, when Ivan was at Pro Circuit, Mitch had everybody. Yeah. Was very tight knit. The team rode together all the time. And I think it works. I think it helps. It's proven, and we're seeing it now with a different team, a different owner, different program, and it's working.
Similar formula, stole from that formula, is making it work in his way.
Exactly.
So I got 2 more questions for you. First one is, how's Weimer? What's Weimer doing? Have you talked to him today? How's old Weimer doing?
I haven't talked to him today. I talked to him last night, actually. He's good, man. He's been working with Chance Hymas,
Oh yeah.
the phenomenal, rider, amateur that's, before we know it, will be pro. Young, by the way, he's pretty young. So
have you seen his face? He
Yeah.
looks like he's 12, man.
I know. So I think that's the big thing, and just the evolution of our amateur racing. Like if you were to take me at 15 and put him against Chance, it's not even in the same book.
Yeah.
And it just comes with the 50 riders are the same way. The 50 riders are starting, they're so much better. They're scrubbing on 50s, they're jumping these huge jumps. Now bikes have gotten better for sure, but still that seriousness and that professional level has trickled down into the amateurs and all the way down to the 50s. Right. So, it's crazy, so he's been working with Chance. That's cool to see. And we just, we're trying to figure out when we're going to go hunting this year. So I think we have a hunt planned in Utah. The great thing about it is we try to go hunt. We do go hunting. The best part about it is just us just getting together is fun enough if we kill something or not.
Just hanging out without Alden yelling at you. It's probably more fun now than it used to be back in the day.
It's a lot of fun. We have a blast.
Yeah. Hey, and when you talk about the amateur program, I mean, dude, it's nutty now, right? But I remember I've talked to Tony Alessi multiple times about you, and he always said his program outdid your program, and he knew that when you got all the good stuff, they were in trouble. He said, God, I knew when that kid gets everything that we have, we're in trouble. And he has the blueprint of the factory amateur program, and it couldn't be better. He's got that program. Now they're all doing it.
He had it figured out 100%, all the way around, from some of the shady business to just being all the way better, from as an amateur. That's one thing, like we started racing amateurs at amateur nationals at 10 years old, 10, 11, so call it a late start, where Mike had been come all the way through, so they already had we had a lot of learning to do, and we did figure it out, but still not on the same level as what Alessi's had,
and now you got 10, 50 kids doing the same program nowadays.
Exactly. Yeah. So everybody's doing it. Cobra's doing it. KTM's doing it. Yamaha's doing it. Every manufacturer is looking for that next gold mine.
Yeah, that's they're all chasing it. It's what a game. Hey, last question for you before I let you go. Incredible career again. Congratulations. Post racing, doing a lot of things, having fun. Is there anything out there that you haven't done yet that's like a bucket list thing that it's just something that you want to do, that you want to get into maybe 10 years from now? But is there anything intriguing you that you haven't done yet that sounds fun?
I don't know, from business side of things, or, really, like, I think for me is trying not to be too busy. I want to be just busy enough because, I'm a very lucky, one of a very lucky individuals that I'm in the position to where I can spend most of my time or all of my time with my kids, which is, I think, I don't know, at this point, good, but the repercussions may be bad. I don't know. Why doesn't dad go to work? Why doesn't my buddy's dad goes to work, and why don't you?
Dad did his work.
Exactly. So maybe maybe that's not the best thing, but ultimately that's kind of my, I want to be busy enough to stay busy and keep my mind kind of, going, but really be as free as possible. So if the kids are, if it's swimming, or if it's soccer, or traveling soccer, or if it's moto, or whatever the case may be, that they're kind of the priority, or they are the priority. So, and the older they get, the funner it's going to be, pretty soon it's going to be, they're 5 right now. So pretty soon it's going to be fun sleepovers, and I'll be cooking, or it's, traveling soccer games, or like I said, flag football, or, going there. I think I can remember as a kid, as older, a little bit older, like that, 7 to and on up, then it's like, you have that window of like when they're all a lot of fun, they somewhat listen, they can't burn the house down, you know, like, you know, it's pretty, that's when things I think really, you know, get pretty fun. I can remember as a kid going over to my uncle's house, same thing. Like, you know, he doesn't really have to worry about us, you know, burning the house down or blowing something up or whatever, but we're also fun to be around.
Right. That makes sense. My son's 11 right now, and he's like becoming like my friend. Like we can hang, we can just do things together where it's not like, hey, don't do that. Hey, stop that. It's like,
exactly.
He can carry the weight a little bit, and like, I don't have to dad him so much. So
exactly. Like, and being with, we have the two, you know, it's like one's either crying or somebody's stealing this from somebody or yelling or, you know, so we do a lot of yelling in this house. This house is, we do a lot of yelling.
Volume up in the Villopoto house.
It doesn't work, but there's a lot of yelling.
I think there's a lot of yelling in a lot of houses when you have twins at that age. So, Ryan, hey, dude, thanks for coming on with me, man. I'm super pumped to have you on the show. Wanted to cover a bunch of things, and I'll see you soon, man. It's awesome that you're still involved. Thanks for coming on the show.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for having me.